Welcome back to America Decides. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz was once investigated by the very same department he now hopes to lead. The Justice Department looked into sex trafficking allegations against Gaetz for years. It decided not to charge Gaetz and closed the probe last year. The House Ethics Committee, though, has been investigating claims of sexual misconduct and other violations against Gaetz before he resigned yesterday. He has denied wrongdoing, we should note. CBS News investigative producer Michael Kaplan joins us now. Michael, you have been investigating these investigations for years. What do we know about what could be in this House ethics report, and will it ever see the light of day?
Well, Nancy, we know it could be quite damaging. In June, the committee underlined some of the allegations it was reviewing, including sexual misconduct, illicit drug use, financial impropriety. And it's really those sexual misconduct claims that could prove to be the most explosive. We know at least 4 women have come and testified in front of the committee, telling them they were paid to attend parties with drugs and sex, where Rep. Gaetz was also present. And we know that one of those women has said that she had sex with Gaetz when she was just 17 years old. Her attorney said in a statement today she was a, quote, high school student and there were witnesses. So that just gives you a sense of some of the details that could come out in this report. Gaetz has previously denied all wrongdoing and, has called the committee's investigation a frivolous smear campaign. But he must, it's no surprise he might be feeling relieved that this report may never see the light of day.
Right, because now that he's resigned, there's a good chance that the House Ethics Committee could just drop the whole thing. Michael, can you explain why the Justice Department looked into some of these allegations as well, investigating sex trafficking in particular, but then dropped those allegations?
Yeah, well, DOJ had investigated Gaetz as part of a larger sex trafficking probe that they opened back in 2019. And this was when President Trump was still president. In fact, as we've since learned, Gaetz had asked Trump for a blanket pardon ahead of Trump leaving office because this investigation was coming down the pike. While the Justice Department brought charges against some of Gaetz' associates, some of whom are in prison now, no charges were ever brought against Gaetz himself. This was going to be a document where some of those details in the investigation, in the DOJ investigation, were ultimately laid out in some sort of official document.
There are some senators who say they deserve to see whatever is in this Ethics Committee report. Obviously, the public has an interest in knowing about the allegations against this person who could be the nation's top law enforcement official. How does it work with the Ethics Committee when someone who they are investigating ends up resigning from Congress or leaving in some other way, as we just saw Gaetz do yesterday when he said now that he has been picked to be AG, he's resigning from Congress?
Well, previously they've shut down their investigation because the member is no longer in Congress. Obviously, this is a sort of unprecedented situation, and people close to the committee who I've spoken with say it's hard to imagine that this document or the details in this document never sees the light of day. As you mentioned, Democratic senators are asking for not only the report but the underlying information ahead of what is expected to be a pretty contentious confirmation hearing. But the committee itself is sort of not commenting on its investigation or on whether they'll ultimately release these findings.
Yeah, damaging information has a way of getting out on Capitol Hill, one way or the other. Michael Kaplan, investigative reporter for CBS News, thanks so much.
Thank you, Nancy.
And to discuss this further, let's bring in our political panel, Kevin Sheridan and Mondaire Jones. Kevin served as a spokesperson for the Republican National Committee. He was also a senior advisor for the Romney-Ryan 2012 presidential campaign. Mondaire previously served in Congress as a Democrat for New York's 17th district. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Good to see you.
Mondaire, you served alongside Congressman Gaetz, and I imagine that there are a lot of your former colleagues who would really like to see that House ethics report, because Gaetz is not exactly the most popular, now former member of the House, not just when it comes to Democrats, but when it comes to a lot of Republicans as well.
Yeah, I served on the House Judiciary Committee with Gaetz, got to know him a little bit on that committee. But perhaps more relevant for this discussion, I also served on the House Ethics Committee. And I know about the important work that this body does. It is evenly divided, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats. The staff are incredible, and the work that they do is confidential until it's not, until they vote to release the work product. And while I don't think that Mike Johnson is going to allow his Republican members on that committee to issue the report, I think they're going to be meeting tomorrow morning to have a vote on this very topic. It remains to be seen whether the report will be leaked anyway. I mean, it is of great national importance. It is certainly probative of, it is relevant to whether this man is qualified from an ethical standpoint to serve as Attorney General of the United States. I think it is also widely understood that he is not qualified from a legal standpoint. I mean, this is someone who only practiced law for a couple of years, has never been a prosecutor, and who has been credibly accused of sex trafficking, as you noted earlier.
And he has few friends on the right on Capitol Hill, Kevin, because even though he is a fierce defender of Donald Trump, he also led the charge to push Kevin McCarthy out of the speakership last year, which is something that most Republicans didn't want.
Yeah, now he's got to go back in front of a legislative body, not the same one, but the Senate, and somehow get get confirmation from senators who have lots of friends in the House, I'm sure, and they're not going to, this will not be an easy confirmation, I don't think. I will say, though, that a lot of these senators right now are not looking to oppose Donald Trump on anything. But if it becomes so obvious that, if some of this stuff actually comes out and it looks really bad, maybe that flips just enough, or he pulls out. Look, if he goes in front of that committee, though, and testifies, he's a bomb thrower, and that will be remarkable television, I think.
It will be must-see TV. You know, there are all these different theories out there about why Donald Trump would name someone like Matt Gaetz in the first place, who is under investigation for some pretty seedy behavior, to put it mildly. There's one theory that perhaps Trump wants to push him through via recess appointment, have him go wild, in Trump's vernacular, within the Department of Justice, fire a bunch of career attorneys, and then have him leave and bring in someone else. There's another theory that says, well, he's nominating Gaetz because he makes other nominees look more palatable. Which theory do you adhere to?
I'm sticking with the theory that this is who Donald Trump actually wants. I actually think that he wants somebody. He's been tortured by the DOJ in his mind for the last 4 years, and I think he wants somebody who's the biggest middle finger he can send into that building. And I honestly believe that's what it is, if he makes it through confirmation.
Mm-hmm. Another person that Trump appears to really want is RFK Jr. to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. What's your reaction to that pick?
Look, you wonder whether that's worse than or better than Matt Gaetz being the Attorney General of the United States. I mean, these are historically bad nominations that have been made in the past 24 to 48 hours. Tulsi Gabbard, had this other stuff not happened, would have been the worst nomination potentially in the history of American government to be the Director of National Intelligence. She's a Russian asset. So it's really scary. Obviously, RFK as a denier of vaccine efficacy. We are still sort of recovering from a COVID-19 environment here globally, and certainly in the United States of America. He has wild conspiracy theories that have been debunked very easily. And you don't want someone like that over scientific research of great national and global importance. The HHS is a huge department. I mean, it has a massive budget. It oversees Medicare, the CDC, all kinds of really important things that impact our daily lives, our health and our safety. And you don't want a guy like that in charge of that.
Interestingly, one Democrat who disagrees with you is Colorado Governor Jared Polis, who just posted a short time ago that he's excited by the news that the president-elect will appoint Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to HHS. He helped us defeat vaccine mandates. I hope he leans into personal choice on vaccines rather than bans. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so when I saw that tweet, I didn't believe it was from Jared. I mean, I went to the page, I still didn't believe it, and I dismissed it until other people, journalists in particular, started amplifying it and characterizing it. I'm shocked by that analysis, especially because a few months ago, the governor of Colorado criticized RFK for wanting, in his own words, to facilitate measles, a measles outbreak, among other diseases.
Kevin, what are you hearing from Republicans in the Senate about this choice that they're being forced to make? Not just about RFK Jr., but about Matt Gaetz, about Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. These are all very unconventional nominees. A lot of Senate Republicans want to give Donald Trump the leeway to name his candidates, his cabinet, but he's putting them in a tough position.
I think they think he clearly believes he has the mandate of the American people. He ran on all this stuff, and he's going to execute on it. However, if they start hearing from their constituents on any of these specific picks because they've gone a little too far, that's where you'll get the pushback. And it only needs to be 3 or 4 members of the Senate who could tank one of these. But, you know, we have to get through the background checks. We have to get through the interviews, if they're going to do interviews with each individual senator, and then even get to the hearings. So we've got a long ways to go.
Very quickly, do you think that's the reason that John Thune won the race for Senate Republican leader and not Rick Scott, who Trump wanted?
I've always thought John Thune was going to win that. He was poised from going back for years working with Mitch McConnell, and obviously he's a different face to put on it now. But yeah, Rick Scott didn't have very much support in the end.
Yep. Well, Mondaire Jones, thank you so much, Kevin Sheridan. Really appreciate both of you coming in, sharing your wisdom. Thanks so much.